With all that boo-hooing out of your system, do you think you can get focused on the Redskins now? Come on, I have faith in you. And we have Jeff Duncan in studio to help. Next on the Black and Gold Today. Welcome to the Black and Gold Today, sponsored by Cadillac of New Orleans. I'm your always positive host, Jim Derry. Well, it's just 4 days until the New Orleans Saints get a chance to exercise the Titans and look to get back to 500 with a trip to D.C. before the much-needed bye week. To find out the keys on how and if they'll be able to do that, we turn to NOLA.com, the Time-speaking sports columnist Jeff Duncan. And Duncan, it's been quite a weekend.
Yeah, you know, I think that was one this past week. We all thought the Saints would gut out and grind out and get a victory, get back over 500. And instead, it was a huge setback, I thought, in their chances at getting back into the playoff contention race and also potentially clawing the way back into contention in the NFC South.
You know, you look at what an opportunity they really missed. I mean, Atlanta loses. You know, Dallas is behind them, but Dallas loses. You know, all these teams that are around them, they had a chance to really make a huge push. And at 5-4, they'd be right in the thick of things with this schedule coming up and the bye week coming up. Really a blown opportunity.
Yeah, it's one that they, you know, when you looked at the schedule at the beginning of the season, you chalked up as a win, and especially the way the Saints have been playing. And the thing that was mystifying to me in that game, Jim, was they started very well. It wasn't like they came out flat. They scored touchdowns on their first 3 possessions. They were up 21-10. Had things rolling, and then it just seemed to derail, and the life kind of got sucked out of the Superdome. Conversely, Tennessee gained momentum, and gained some confidence, and then it was a battle on.
Well, we heard from Zach Streif in yesterday's show, and he talked about how that play, and the play where Bird and Keenan Lewis came together and they ended up scoring the touchdown on, didn't have a great effect and didn't change. I don't see how you can't say that play to me seemed to change everything.
It gave, well, more than anything, it gave Tennessee life and energy and confidence. A team that's only won 1 game started believing in themselves, and that can happen in the course of a game. But all that said, the Saints still had a chance to win it. At the end of regulation, you've got to put a field goal together. The battery was a little off. And look, once that happened, I think that gave Tennessee second life again. And they were tough to beat. Well,
talking about on last lives, Rob Ryan might be on his last life, and you've talked about how this defense is that you were talking about using the word historic. Whenever you use the word historic, it's really, really good or it's really, really bad, and in this case, it's obviously very bad.
Well, they're right now, Jim, playing the worst pass defense in the history of the NFL statistically. The passer efficiency ratings of quarterbacks playing against them is at a 112. Just to put that in perspective for you, that's roughly equal to what Tom Brady has as a quarterback. So they're making the quarterbacks they play about at the same efficiency rate as a Tom Brady every week. You can't win that way. Other teams have thrown 24 touchdown passes. The Saints only have 4 interceptions. And historically, pass efficiency defense is one of the leading indicators of success in the NFL. It's almost impossible to allow over 100 passer rating for your opposing quarterbacks and have a winning season. The Saints right now at 4-5, somewhat remarkable. They've won 4 games playing as badly as they have.
Are you trying to say Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston aren't as good as Tom Brady?
Just maybe not there yet.
Wow,
not there yet.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
That's what's scary for Saints fans is that of the quarterbacks they've played so far, the 9 quarterbacks they've combined for this 112 rating, only 2 are top 10 quarterbacks in the league, Carson Palmer and Mariota. So it's not exactly a murderer's row. It's not Peyton Manning they're running through and guys like that. So I think it's a really ominous statistic and something that they've got to get cleaned up, or it's definitely going to cost.
And they beat one of the better ones, Matt Ryan.
Right. It's going to cost Rob Ryan his job unless he can get it fixed.
Well, let's talk about this week and the Redskins, and what are the keys for the Saints? What do they have to do differently, besides the obvious and not allow 40 points? But what do they have to do this week and in this week of preparation to make sure they get on top of the Redskins and get back to 500?
Well, it's a difficult place to play. FedEx Field, the Redskins are 3-1 there. You never know what kind of weather you're going to get in Washington this time of year, so it could be an ugly game. But they've got to get after Kirk Cousins, and that's not going to be easy. One thing that Washington has done well this year is protect the quarterback. They've only allowed 9 sacks the whole year. That's the lowest in the NFL. But they've got to do a better job of pressuring Cousins because he is prone to mistakes if you get after him. And they didn't do that at all against Mariota. Didn't sack him at all, hardly even hurried him at all. So they've got to get better pressure. Hopefully, if Kakaha is back, that will help in that area. And then offensively, they just got to keep doing what they're doing. They're moving the ball well. They've got to get the running game back a little bit, and they should be able to run the ball better against Washington. Tennessee's front seven is very underrated. Not a lot of big names in that group.
Arapco.
Other than Arapco, but and Jarrell Casey. But they are a very stout front seven. I think they'll have a little easier sledding this week.
Maybe that was another turning point after Arapco got ticked off. That
Look, right, and rightfully so. Look, that was a good call, but I can understand their frustration because he was the Titans guy was sacking Drew Brees and gets called for roughing. It's very difficult, I think, for them to make that game.
Well, one thing that they do have going for them, as far as this team that they're playing this week, it's been a revolving door in the running game. They've had some injuries in their backfield. I don't know where Morris is going. I don't know what they've decided to do there. But, you know, if you can, it's sort of the offense they played last week. If you can get Kirk Cousins out of the game, then maybe you can get something going.
Yeah, and they've got to get some help with their special teams as well. Yeah. They've been playing well in special teams up until last week, and then you get the Marcus Murphy fumble, Forbath misses a field goal. This is going to be, I think, a tight game. But if they can get up early, you know, Washington's a team that's not had success. They don't have a lot of confidence right now. I think that Cousins can lead them back.
Playing against Jim Haslett.
Yeah, well, now they're not. No, they won't be playing against them this week, but they played against them in the past, and now we'll see it. We'll see how they do. The last time they played there, Jim, was 2009, when we all remember the Beecham Miracle. This is their first trip back there, so it's been a while, but great memories for Saints.
And that game right there is proof how tough that place is to play.
Right, because that team went in there unbeaten and had to fight and get somewhat fortunate to win.
Well, thanks for joining us, Dunk. I appreciate you coming in.
Sure, thanks for having me, bud.
We'll be right back with Wednesday's Extra Point.
What's one of the nicest things that comes with your new Cadillac from Cadillac of New Orleans? 0% interest.
Get 0% interest on all new Cadillacs, now at Cadillac of New Orleans. New owners, new attitude, on Lime Street in Rye in Metairie.
One of these days I'm going to figure out which camera to look at. For today's Extra Point, let's go back in time to November 11th, 1979. Not only did the Saints defeat the 49ers 31-20, as Chuck Muncie, remember Chuck Muncie? He scored 3 times and had 117 rushing yards. But we see how back in the day it was much better to watch the game in person than it is today. Back then you watched it on a blurry old square tube that was built into an ugly wooden frame. Take a look.
What a catch. Touchdown. Easy. Galbraith to the touchdown. He got in with that last effort. Ronson Harper hit him, but Galbraith drove.
Chuck Muncie, Tony Galbraith, and Henry Childs. We could use all those guys today, besides the fact they're probably like 65 years old. But anyway, 36 years ago, it's very hard to believe. Yeah, well, we'll come back tomorrow when I'll host a show from the Saints facility out on Airline Drive in Metairie, and Evan Woodbury will join me then. See ya.